Okay, let's get our gloves on, let's get our safety equipment on, and we're ready to slide this floor in and get it fitted to where we want it, just right now.
Welcome to D.I.Y. Automotive School with my friend Pete and Minnie, the body shop girl. It's everything you need to know about cars and more.
Once again, we're not going to weld the floor in, we're going to tech screw it in. Let me show you what we're going to use to do that with. If you look right here, you can see that these are tech screws. These are actually hex head screws. They're self-tapping screws, all right? And that's what we're going to use to assemble our car back together. That way what we can do is if it's not level here or it's not right there, we can always take a screw out, do this, that, this, or the other to line everything up. Now, we're going to go ahead and put the floor in. We'll get the firewall all mounted on and lined up, and then we'll also put the cowling on as well. I'm going to gently slide it down to get it onto the ground. And when you're doing this as a one-man operation, you want to be very, very careful because you don't want to twist or bend the floor any way at all. So then I'm going to go ahead and slide the floor into the vehicle. Just like that. Alright, once we got the floor underneath, we're going to go ahead and grab the floor just like this, bringing it up easily, not to bend it. And to shimmy it up in to where it's supposed to lay. And I also notice as I'm walking back and forth, I see that this is going to be a very snug fit as we get it in there. Once we get it to a point where we can't go any further with it, what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and take our floor jack, and I'm also going to use a 2x4 as well. And I'm going to jack the floor up to the levelness that I need, and then pump it over to the inside. Now, of course, as you're watching this, this is an explanation and an examinatory situation of how to do it all by yourself, like my friend Pete does. Once again, if you have that third hand, if your wife is in the house watching soap operas, turn the fucking TV off, tell her to get her ass outside and help you out a little bit. I'm just saying, all right? I'm just saying, don't get mad. I'm just throwing that idea at you. If it's a helpful idea, then use it. If it's not, let her watch her soap operas. So we'll go ahead and jack the floor up into the body, watching very closely what's going on and double checking to make sure everything is looking good. So far, everything looks great. I'm going to go ahead and slide this up into the vehicle, just like that. I see that this is really going to be a tight squeeze once we get it in here. So what I'm going to do is take a pry bar to pry this lip back to pop it up in here just like that. That's side's already in where I want it. Let me go ahead and get this side in. Right there. And then we'll go ahead to proceed on jacking the floor up in place where it should be. Alright, now that we got the floor pretty much where we want it to be at, what we're going to do is we're going to start tech screwing it down in the back of the floor to hold it in place. And I also ran into a couple issues. Of course, this is aftermarket fucking shit we're using here, so naturally you're going to run into issues anywhere you go on the idea. But let's look at this and see what the fucking problem we have. If we look right here on our right hand side fender well where the floor meets the fender well itself and also the rear section of the floor, you can see that there is a pretty large gap and the floor isn't even long enough to meet over to the edge where it's supposed to be. Now, it also shows a gap right here as well, but then on the other hand, if we look over here, we can see that it's in the center of the hump where it's supposed to be. Now, over here on this side, it looks like it fits pretty well. You can see that everything fits in there and snug and looks okay. So with that said, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start tack screwing this side of it, and then we'll stretch the floor that way, tack screwing it in over there. Doesn't look like our fucking cordless drill is going to cut the mustard. Bam! Alright, how y'all doing? I'm over here inside where the gas tank would be, and we don't want to get up inside the car yet. But what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and start tech screwing this side of it down, and then once I got this side down, I'll go ahead and move over to that side and basically stretch the floor that way to where I need it to be. Just like that. Now I see that this sucked itself in here, and it looks like our hump is matching up, so we're going to keep on going. And now what I'll do is I'll suck this side in over here. It's what you call a suck thing, see? We're sucking and pulling and stretching to get it to fit. We've got to be able to pull this floor over to the rocker panel to get it to work properly. You can see by putting that screw in there, it has stretched our floor out to the capacity of where it should be. I noticed that this line right here lines up now, and our hump is down where it's supposed to be, and it looks like it's going to be a good fit. Stretching and pulling, that's the fucking name of the game here. Start on the side that's hitting, suck it over, push it down, and in you go. Alright, before we go any further, I noticed that this brace that I put on here is basically at an angle, and it's stopping our floor from entering the vehicle itself. You can see where it's overriding. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to cut that off right here to get rid of this access. Like that. And now we should be able to slide our floor up inside. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there. Alright, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and put one self-tapping screw right here into the edge of this floor over here, and I'm going to go ahead and try to find the body line that I need. And this is basically just floating in here. We will be removing this screw once we get the firewall on. And the only reason that we're putting this on here is so we can go ahead and get our firewall installed. And then I'm going to install a screw over there the same way, just to hold the floor in place until we get our firewall ready to install. Well, we ran into fucking problems over here on this fucking side. And what the problem is this fucking brace that I put on here to brace the car is actually sitting at an angle inside the fucking car. So what I'm gonna have to do is cut this motherfucker, bend it out away from the fucking floor. We cannot have anything disturbing or touching the floor while we are working on putting the fucking floor in. So I went ahead and knocked this side here out, and then I also knocked right here. And what I'm going to do is bend this out. Just like that. And that should give us plenty of room, as you can see, for our floor to travel. And then what I'll do, I'll go ahead and fucking weld some metal on here to hold this bitch together. Alright, we basically got our floor mounted in the fucking car temporarily until we get our firewall and our cowling on. We don't want to do any type of welding whatsoever. I got 3 screws holding in. I'm going to put one more screw over on this side here just to suck the floor this way, kind of like I did on the back. We ran into a fucking problem here with this brace. That's a typical situation of when you're trying to do something, you always run into fucking problems. I don't give a fuck what it is. There's always going to be some obstacle in your fucking way to stop you from completing what the fuck you're trying to do here. I went ahead and cut this, bent it out, welded some brackets back on it. We need this brace here to hold all this fucking structure in up here. I'm going to go ahead and prep up the firewall and the cowling the exact same way I did the floor. And when we get all that done, we're coming back to mount those bitches in, and hopefully this fucking thing will be on its way down the fucking road closer to the day it leaves this fucking shop that we call Southwest Riding Custom.
Thanks for watching D.I.Y. Automotive School. Classes don't stop till you know everything.